Well, what is going on, guys, and welcome into the video. Well, Palantir had their earnings and let's just say it was really less than desirable. I think everyone was not happy and YouTube basically had a meltdown over it, with a few actually selling and not trusting the stock or management anymore, which if you paid attention to the call at all, I completely understand why. And this wasn't isolated to YouTube either. I mean, the reaction in my group was very similar as well, and I might have taken some action on Palantir too. So I will give you a complete breakdown of all of this today, and I just ask in exchange for you to gently tap that like button and consider subscribing too. It's super easy to do if you like the truth without the hype. So before we get started, I want to address two things before everyone decides to bash everyone else or myself for the decisions we have made, and they are important to remember before jumping all over someone else for deciding to sell, or for holding, or for buying more, or whatever decision you actually made in the end. The first, and it is actually the biggest truth with investing, is that we can all win. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, the beauty of investing is, unlike everything else in this world, it seems, we can all actually win with investing. I mean, short sellers can win at the same time, longs can win, and kind of everything in between. If you choose to hold or buy more, you can win and make a lot of money if the stock goes where you think it will in 3 years. And if you choose to sell and invest elsewhere, you too can make a lot of money in 3 years as well. Everybody can win with different stocks, different strategies, and different goals. The only losers are those that do not put in the work, so they're, trading one day and jumping in and out of stocks, and then they're long the next day, and then they love this hype stock with a PowerPoint only, no revenue or anything else because a YouTuber said it was good, and kind of so on and so forth, and I know we've seen a lot of that in the past. Those people will lose over the long run, along with the people who choose not to invest at all. Those are the only guaranteed losers in investing. Otherwise, we can all win doing it 5,000 different ways. I mean, it's not politics or the lottery. It's investing, and there are millions of winners out there doing it thousands of different ways. And the second thing I wanted to address is the expectations for this stock itself. I mean, there are many out there who are expecting this to be a $1 trillion company in 3 to 5 years, and if it wasn't clear before, it is clear as day now they're not going to get anywhere close to that in that time frame. Not saying it can't get there in the future or anything else, but many people expected that stock to get to the $500 mark to be that $1 trillion company in just a few years. I have no idea where this expectation came from. And yes, I know I'm conservative, I know. But others had wildly different expectations, and since investing is individual, that means your outlook, your thesis, and the fundamentals will be different than mine, so you have to make decisions based on yours. Not mine, but based on yours. So what are my thoughts and what did I do in response to all this? Well, we actually went live in the group shortly after Palantir's earnings came out, because once the YouTube reaction videos started popping off, there was mass confusion and freakout level was basically on 10. So I went through the call and the numbers, and then we went live to talk about it. We do a regular Q&A weekly at a minimum, but when something crazy happens like this, we go live and stay until everyone's questions are answered. We did it with the Russia-Ukraine invasion, for example, and anytime something like this happens, we just jump on and go live and just hash through it all. Which, don't forget to check out the group if you want to go live with me anytime something crazy happens. You want to see all my buys in real time, my watch list with price targets, take 4 courses, and have a massive support group cutting through all the noise that's out there to help you navigate this chaos with actual facts and, actually helping you out. So at least check out the pinned comment below and see what all is offered. But I know that's not right for many of you out there, and I don't think YouTube will let me upload that entire Q&A session, and it's basically more than an hour long, so I will cover the 3 major issues I saw with the earnings call that we discussed in that meeting. Actually, there was more, but we will cover the big 3 here today so the video doesn't go on forever, and discuss what ultimately I decided to do as well. So first, the growth numbers are declining from last quarter to now, but year over year, they actually still kind of look fine. I mean, customer growth grew from 169 to 304 customers, meaning they're not as concentrated, although they are heavily reliant on the US government still for a large chunk of their business. I know. We can debate if that is a good thing or a bad thing, but it is a fact of life for now with Palantir. The next point that came up and was one of the big points of contention was Palantir saying they will not be profitable now until 2025. Now, I understand they had indicated it would be sooner than that, but having done this for over 20 plus years, rarely does a company execute to their profitability number given in their first year of being a public company. I mean, it's not like they've been public for 5 or 10 years and making those projections, and honestly, anytime a new public company has a profitability target, I usually add on a year or two at least, because most miss it, as it's a lot harder than you would think it would be, and most companies are wrong to begin with that estimate. I mean, just starting up a business and being a public business is very different than being a private business. So I had 2025 as when I saw them being profitable. So for me, this was a non-event, and it honestly didn't even register when I was listening to the call until others said something about it afterwards. The next part is equal concerning and confusing, and that is they lowered guidance, but then Alex basically kind of reiterated his 5-year outlook. Let me kind of get this all straight here. This is exactly where the bears jump all over Palantir. I mean, what happens in the medium term is never explained anywhere. Honestly, I'm not sure if they ever have explained the medium term if I'm really thinking about it now. We are left to just use our imaginations to make assumptions and see how to get there, and that is a major problem, which actually leads me to the next point. Management is atrocious at communicating. Where I felt the call was the biggest dud was that many of the down numbers were actually explainable and reasonable, and a great management team, like Apple's for example, now go listen to their calls if you want an example of what an A+ call is where management is perfect, even if the numbers are not perfect, make sure you check those out. But if this team just gave more detail and explained the why at all, not even a ton more, just a touch more, investors would understand the government contract's lagging effects on the numbers, and then management would connect the dots to the low revenue numbers. They would also then explain that the sales force is taking longer to ramp up due to the complexities of the product, and then explain their 1-year plan to ramp up the sales team and when you expect them to start paying dividends to the bottom line itself. If they communicated just a tiny bit as a management team, they would have explained and actually given what the numbers would have actually been if you didn't have the foreign exchange headwinds that everybody is experiencing right now. Literally every other company has done this except for Palantir. If management would have actually communicated anything at all, they actually would have given us the medium-term outlook that actually connected this short-term, basically downgrade in what they're doing to maintaining their 5-year outlook, so they kind of connect all the dots in between all that sort of stuff. But they didn't do any of that, and that is a direct failure on management's part. They literally did none of this. But that also does not mean that just because management doesn't communicate well at all, to be honest, that it's not actually true or the actual real story that's going on with the stock. But I also want to highlight this next point. Now I know most folks, not all, but a lot of folks either watch an earnings call along with a YouTuber, or they just wait for their favorite YouTuber's reaction to the call instead of listening to the call untainted without anyone else's analysis or opinion in your mind before you listen to your call. And I'm sure some don't listen to the call at all and just look at a reaction video or analysis video or an article about the actual earnings instead of listening to the entire call. Maybe I'm wrong on all that, I don't know, but every single person in my group who DM'd me all kinds of riled up about the call admitted that they hadn't actually listened to the call yet. They had just watched a video or a reaction video to the actual earnings call. I personally never read a headline, much less listen to anyone's take on an earnings call. I only knew about the drama about Palantir because my DMs blew up about it and the chatter in the group was basically cranked up to 11 around it. I listened to the call having no idea what to expect and not having seen a single headline. And I honestly thought the call sucked too, but not for the reasons everybody else thought it sucked. And yes, to be upfront and clear with you guys here, in this rare instance, after listening to the earnings call and taking my notes, I watched a ton of reaction videos before going live with my group, so I understood what they were hearing so I could answer their questions with the context of those videos, not just their questions, so that way I actually understood where they were coming from, and so that way I had an understanding of exactly where what's going on and what was being said out there. But I thought this call actually went way better than the last earnings call, and although Alex was being Alex as usual, it actually wasn't as bad as everybody else was saying, in my opinion. And some of the things that a lot of people were worried about, I didn't think were as big as a problem. Not that there weren't problems there. Whoa, not saying that at all. Just saying a lot of those things I didn't see as nearly as big of a problem, especially, kind of viewing it from my horizon and kind of what I'm used to seeing and what I was looking for. I have listened to thousands of these things, and I have endured many actual disaster calls a lot more worse than this one was. I had no expectation that the sales team would be ramped up and performing this fast and actually paying a dividend to the bottom line. If the IT professionals in my group say it's incredibly hard to grasp what they do, and we all know you don't send out the IT guys to be the salespersons and vice versa, then how long is it going to take the sales team to figure it all out well enough to actually pitch to clients? I mean, how long does it take to build a sales team from scratch to begin with? I mean, all the materials have to be built, the presentations, you got to get the salespeople through the HR process, the security clearance process for certain things, and all kinds of stuff like that. Now, if by Q1 next year they aren't paying dividends, then I agree. They failed there completely. But expecting them to be dominating this fast, to me, honestly, isn't realistic in my opinion. Also, having owned and listened to earnings calls from many defense contractors, I've heard them discuss a bad quarter and actually no revenue growth because of the government not executing payments in a timely manner. That's happened a million times. Is anyone shocked by that from the US government with all its dysfunction? I mean, I am sure not shocked by that. But I also agree management needed to clearly communicate that with numbers and a clear message, and they failed at that. But that also doesn't make the fact that, the government pays defense contractors and all that sort of stuff, the payments just get all kinds of weird and such. It doesn't make that not true either just because they don't communicate it. There were absolutely concerns, absolutely some things I am watching more closely than I was before, and absolutely some things management needs to improve on by a lot. And I mean a lot, guys. But in the end, for me, nothing fundamentally changed with this stock. So I casually bought more the very next day at $9.09 after the earnings call drama the day before, and I'm up almost 10% already. But let me be very clear. I'm not here for 10% gains. I'm here for much more, but in the meantime, I will happily take the discounts when we get them. So hopefully this was helpful, and if you don't know how to get a price target or how to do a valuation and want a step-by-step process for doing that, building wealth, and you want direct access to me and much more, remember to check out the pinned comment down below to become a member and at least look at everything you get. And click this video here for the stocks I'm still buying in this market, and click here for exactly what I'm doing to make huge money in this market. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.